superheroing days are over. I need to figure out exactly who I am. Mjolnir! Jane? You will die. Like the other gods have killed. I was going to say that was very, very impressive what you did back there. The only ones who gods care about is themselves. So this is my vow. All gods will die.
Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to another movie review. And this review is going to be on Thor: Love and Thunder. And the film stars Chris Hemsworth, Christian Bale, Tessa Thompson, Jaimie Alexander, Taika Waititi, and Natalie Portman. And the film was also written and directed by Taika Waititi. He also directed the last Thor film, which was Thor Ragnarok, which this film is the sequel to that. And I liked all the Thor films. The first film, saw that in the theater, really enjoyed it. You have Chris Hemsworth, of course, as Thor, Tom Hiddleston as Loki, to which Loki was the main villain in that film. Thor: The Dark World, I also liked, but as I look back on the film, I know I stated in my review, years ago that I thought Thor: The Dark World was much better than the first. I'm like, as I look back on it now, the story is, kind of forgettable. Malekith, who was the villain in Thor: The Dark World, very forgettable villain. Wasn't up to par as Loki and Hela in Thor Ragnarok. But Thor: The Dark World, like I said, I like the film, but it's just very forgettable, in my opinion. Thor Ragnarok, I saw that in the theater, really enjoyed that one. In my opinion, that's my favorite of the Thor films. And you also have Cate Blanchett as Hela. I thought she did a good job playing the villain, Hela in that film. And you also had Mark Ruffalo as the Hulk in there in the film. You had Jeff Goldblum as the Grandmaster. It was the very first appearance of Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, in that. You had Carl Urban. Thor Ragnarok, I said, my favorite of the Thor films. Now, Thor: Love and Thunder, while in my opinion it's not as good as Thor Ragnarok, I loved the film. I thought this was a very fun film, and I am happy that Natalie Portman came back and reprised the role as Jane Foster, considering her character wasn't a part of the Avengers films, and she wasn't in the last Thor film. But it was a joy to see Natalie Portman reprise her role as Jane Foster, who was Thor's love interest. But in this film, we find out that she is Thor's now ex-girlfriend. But also Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher. I thought he did a very good job portraying the main villain. I thought the look of Gorr was awesome, even though there was a lot of people that said that they didn't like how the way he looked in the film compared to how he looked in the comics. I thought Gorr looked fine in the film. You have Tessa Thompson reprising her role as Valkyrie, Jaimie Alexander reprised her role as Sif, and Taika Waititi reprised his role as Korg. But basically what the film is about is Thor, played by Chris Hemsworth, and he attempts to find inner peace. And basically the film, it's kind of like a parody of the character, because they're like, oh, let me tell you a little story about Thor. And like it showed like him as a baby and then growing up. And then it goes into, at one scene, oh, let me tell you the story of how Thor and Jane, came together. So it's kind of like a parody of the character. But basically, Thor has to fight Gorr the God Butcher, who was played by Christian Bale, from eliminating all gods. And he has to have the help from Valkyrie, played by Tessa Thompson, Korg, played by Taika Waititi, and his ex-girlfriend, Thor's ex-girlfriend, Jane Foster, played by Natalie Portman. So they have to all take on, Gorr the God Butcher, from taking out all the gods, and Gorr ends up kidnapping all the Asgardian kids. So it's up for Thor and them to save the kids and just take out Gorr. And basically that's what the plot to the film is about. But love seeing Natalie Portman back as Jane Foster. Like I said, considering she wasn't a part of the Avenger films, her character, and she wasn't in the last Thor film. And she is now the Mighty Thor in this film. And I really like the suit that, she was wearing. I thought it looked awesome on Natalie Portman. And, the scene in the trailer and TV spots where she ends up making an appearance and Chris Hemsworth as Thor goes, Jane? That was, pretty funny. But I like that we got the reuniting of Thor and Jane. Like when you think of, the Thor, you think of, him and Jane, being together, Thor loving her. And we get to find out why in the film that, they kind of drifted apart. And you also had a little brief appearance by the Guardians of the Galaxy, which was cool. So they were only at the beginning portion of the film. You also have a small cameo appearances by Kat Dennings and Stellan Skarsgård. The characters of Darcy Lewis and Eric Selvig. Little brief, cameos from them here. They're not in the film, a whole lot. Just a little, like I said, brief cameo appearances by them too. You also have, little cameo appearances by Matt Damon. Matt Damon made a appearance here, and you also had Sam Neill make a little cameo here, and also Melissa McCarthy. So it was cool that they had little cameo appearances here in the film, which is basically, in my opinion, one of the funniest scenes, which I'm not going to explain, not going to spoil it for you guys, if you guys haven't seen the film yet. Chris Hemsworth as Thor, highly entertained as always with the character. Natalie Portman as Jane Foster, she did a good job as always, and I liked her in the Almighty Thor suit. She looked badass in that suit. Call her Mighty Thor, Lady Thor, whatever you want to call her. Just also with the character, very sad news in the film with the character. We find out that Jane Foster was diagnosed with cancer. So that's, pretty sad for the character in the film. Christian Bale as Gorr the God Butcher, I thought he did a very good job in his portrayal as Gorr, being the main villain. And Gorr has a sword, which is the Necro sword, which he possessed, because the sword ended up choosing him to kill all gods because his daughter ends up dying. So pretty much that's basically how he possessed a sword and how he wants to kill all the gods. But very good portrayal by Christian Bale there. Christian Bale went from the DC universe and portraying Batman in Christopher Nolan's trilogy. He went from that to Marvel and portraying, a villain in Gore. So, but he did a good job. Jaimie Alexander, as Sif, she's very brief appearance here. It was cool seeing her. You also have a appearance by Russell Crowe in the film, where Russell Crowe ends up playing Zeus. And I thought there was a scene where they're on the hunt for Gore, and they go to the planet. And I liked how the way it went from color, and then when they all get on the planet, it was in black and white. So I liked how the way that was done. You also had these two screaming goats in the film, which I thought was funny at first, but then as the film went on, I thought those two screaming goats were annoying as the film ended up going on. Like, they were funny at first when they were introduced, and then, just every time you hear them scream, it just got annoying real fast, in my opinion. But I thought Taika Waititi did a good job directing the film and also writing it. And the film is worth the watch. If you liked the other Thor films, it's worth the watch. I loved it, really enjoyed it. Even though it's not as good as Thor Ragnarok, it's still a fun movie to check out. And, it's worth seeing in the theater. So, Thor, Love and Thunder, loved the film, and, enjoyed it. Definitely go out and check it out. But anyways, that's it for my review of Thor, Love and Thunder. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. Definitely give the video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and I will see you all later tonight with the SmackDown and AEW Rampage review.